I want to bring in a great friend and a great American, Mick Mulvaney, former White House Chief of Staff under President Trump. He's also the former director of the Office of Management and Budget. I want to talk, Mick, there's a lot of things to cover with you, and I want to start with something that Republicans don't favor, and that's the Green New Deal. But the Green New Deal seems to be absolutely at the center of President Obama's administration. Now, starting off, they killed the Keystone Pipeline. They're killing the Dakota Access Pipeline. They are nominating an Interior Secretary, Deb Haaland, who is totally against fossil fuels and pipelines. I'm hearing Green New Deal and job killers, Mick, job killers. And I don't think that's a promising path for them to go to, but they seem determined to do it anyway. Your take?
My take is that, first of all, it's great to hear your voice, Larry. It's been way too long. Congrats on the show. I've enjoyed watching it this week. I don't know why anybody's surprised with that. By the way, you had a little slip there, but it's completely forgivable. You said it's the center of the Obama administration when you met Biden.
Right.
But but the point of the matter is, it's exactly the same. What I think you've seen the Democrats learn over the course of their 4 years out of the White House is how to speak a little bit differently. So now you hear them talk about bipartisanship, but then do something entirely differently. You heard Rahm Emanuel 4 years ago admit that you never let a crisis go to waste. You'd never hear Nancy Pelosi say that today about her stimulus bill, but that's exactly the same thing. And it shouldn't be surprising that they're pursuing the Green New Deal. They've never liked capitalism to begin with, but they certainly have never liked big American business, big oil, all the things they attach all these pejoratives to. So while on one hand you have the President Biden, saying things that are different than have been said in the last couple of Democrat administrations, they're doing the exact same thing. I don't understand why markets especially haven't woken up to it yet. I think voters probably will between now and 2022, but it's going to be a rough couple of years while they're in charge.
Well, you know, the markets are responding. It's like, be careful what you wish for. You had a bond market revolt in the past few weeks with interest rates going up at least 50 basis points. Bond market vigilantes, I think they're realizing we don't need all this stimulus, and maybe we should worry about selling debt and inflation risks in the future. But, Mick, let me stay with this, because behind the stimulus, I mean, you and I could talk about the stimulus package. We always talk about it. But really, behind this, they're going to throw up, apparently, maybe a $3 trillion infrastructure package, which, Mick, you know, we looked at this carefully. President Trump wanted it, but never could get it through the Congress. That's going to be Green New Deal. Their version of infrastructure is going to be a lot different. It's going to be Green New Deal.
Yeah, and it's going to be picking and choosing winners and losers. I know Republicans throw that line around like, you know, it's sort of become lost on a lot of people, but it's real. Keep in mind, Larry, what they're talking about more, you know, I had a little stint at the CFPB. I've seen some of the stuff they're putting out, and they're talking about equity. Okay, racial equity, for example. That scares me to death. I don't know what equity is. What equity really mean? I know what equality is, but not equity. When they want to talk about equity, when they do this infrastructure bill, what that really means is they're going to get to pick and choose who gets the money. That's the way this is going to shake out. By the way, one of the most frightening things I've heard about this $3 to $4 trillion proposed infrastructure bill is when someone asked Chuck Schumer how he's going to pay for it. He said, "We don't ask that question anymore. We don't have to. That's not how modern monetary theory works." So we're really in a brave new world. But again, Larry, let's be honest with each other. We knew this was coming. What we don't understand is why corporate America didn't, why the markets are slow to do it. Yeah, I see that we're up 50 basis points this year on the 10-year. But where was the concern before the election, and has it been since the election?
Well, last one, Mick. Look, we're talking about CPAC and so forth. We had Kevin McCarthy on. I think the Republican Party is pretty united on the major issues, which does not include the Green New Deal. Taxes and regulations, border security, China, you know. I see the GOP as very united. And the Democrats go out on this far-left progressive wing, they'll lose the Congress next time around.
Yeah, I think you're right. You heard Kevin hit on a couple of things that are worth repeating. Number one, watch how they vote, not how the press tells you there's a civil war within the party. Watch how they vote, and as long as they continue to vote together, that's evidence that there's no civil war. Number two, Kevin was too humble to talk about this himself. The way he managed the situation with Congressman Green and Congressman Cheney 2 weeks ago was masterful in not ripping the party apart. Look, Larry, you and I have talked about this 1,000 times before. We're a country of 350 million people with effectively two parties. There's no way that either party is going to be monolithic. There's always going to be disagreements within each party. Believe me, there's a progressive wing of the Democrat Party that can't stand Joe Biden, doesn't think he's nearly left-wing enough. Those sort of fault lines are natural. The question is whether or not you act on them. So the fact that some Republicans think one way on a policy and some think another shouldn't really surprise anybody or concern anybody. Watch how they act together. And then more importantly, watch the ideas that they push. Because you're right, the party is bigger than any individual. It's about ideas and ideals. And right now, the Republicans are in a position to win the battle of ideas.
It's great to have these discussions. And it's okay to disagree with civility and maybe even facts. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a sign of political health. Anyway, Mick Mulvaney, you're the best. Thanks so much for coming on. We're going to use you much more than we have. We are tardy, but you did make the second week. You look great, pal. See you soon.
Thanks, Larry. We'll see you.